You plan to run for re-election?
Yes, I am, because the last time I thought I could come in here in a couple of years and kind of make an impact, and people that told me said, no, it's going to take you 8 years. And now that I'm in, I see it can't be done in 4 years.
Retired FBI special agents in charge, they get a good pension, do they not?
Yes, so this is not about the money. This is about making a difference. We were an embarrassment to the sheriff's organization, or the sheriffs, and also our county was an embarrassment because of the sheriff's office.
Have you been embarrassed since you took this job?
No, I'll never be embarrassed, because I can't do any worse than what it was before I came in.
Fulton County Sheriff Ted Jackson says he's locked in on finishing what needs to be done at the lockup, the county jail, and on fixing other problems under the sheriff's oversight.
Obviously, we've got more work to do.
The jail needs to be reorganized.
T.J. Ward says he's working to elect former Sheriff Richard Langford to his old job next year, and that the sheriff should not need the FBI to clean up his jail.
He should be directing what needs to be done, not a federal agency.
A former FBI agent in charge here, Jackson says he did not hesitate to turn to the FBI to deal with an employee contraband scandal at the jail, leading the arrest of 4 jail officers last week, all of whom have pled not guilty.
The FBI has an office on this floor.
Yes, and they've had an office for over almost a year and a half.
You caught some heat from that internally, didn't you?
Well, I caught some heat, but I was trying to send a message that we wanted to rid out corruption.
I was the investigator hired by the Holloway family to investigate the disappearance of Natalee Holloway in Aruba.
When Natalee Holloway disappeared after being seen in an Aruba casino 5 years ago, her family brought in Atlanta private investigator T.J. Ward. His investigation pointed to Joran Vandersloot,
He's a psychopath.
who Aruba police arrested but never charged and released.
Did you kill Natalee Holloway? No.
Now, 5 years to the day after she disappeared, police in Lima, Peru announced the death of 21-year-old Stephanie Flores, found in a hotel room registered to Vandersloot. Once again, witnesses saw Vandersloot with the victim shortly before her death.
The difference in the Holloway case and this case that's going on now is that they've got a body, and then the body with DNA, and the evidence from witnesses that saw him come out of a casino the same way he did with Natalee Holloway.
Ward says during those intervening 5 years, Vandersloot has been involved in trafficking women for sex in Asia. Now he's in custody again.
And maybe somehow the truth about Natalee Holloway will come out, and hopefully closure for the family to maybe discover where her remains were or where he may have put them.
Did you have anything to do
No, I did not.
with the murder of Heather Strube?
No, I did not.
She's our prime suspect at this point.
How many days in the last few months have you cried like this?
Every day.
Joanna Hayes says she sided with her daughter-in-law, Heather Strube, in divorce proceedings against Ms. Hayes' son, Stephen Strube, Jr.
I loved Heather dearly. And that is on a statement.
But she says now Snellville police have told her she's the target of suspicion for Heather Strube's murder in a Target store parking lot in April.
We have been violated. We've been drug out of bed in the middle of the night. We've been drugged through the media and portrayed as horrible people.
Snellville Police Detective Trey Downs. Has she been treated fairly?
Yes.
Ms. Hayes says her son's lawyer suggested she not talk publicly about the facts of the case, but that she did answer all questions for Private Eye T.J. Ward, who Thursday administered a layered voice analysis test to her.
Was she part of the shooting and the murder? Did she know or have knowledge the person that's in the shooting and the murder? And had she ever been in the parking lot on the day of April 26, 2009?
Her answers?
No.
Did she tell you how long ago she was last at the Target parking lot?
It's about 5 years ago.
We're just waiting and looking forward to seeing what, pouring over the results that they have.
It came up true. She was not telling a lie.
Lawyer Trey Phillips says he represents Stephen Strube, Heather's widowed husband, on a probation violation case for which Strube is currently in jail.
And he was arrested for failing to change his address, and they knew absolutely where to go find him on the night of Heather's murder.
Stephen Strube is not a suspect at this point.
He denied adamantly that he had any involvement in the murder.
Under oath?
Under oath.
No,
She just moved.
she was at 16th and Spring.
From inside this completely ordinary SUV parked anywhere in metro Atlanta, private investigator T.J. Ward
right
and
there
his
at
team
41,
can track anyone
near
at any
75
time
and
without
285.
them knowing.
This has made our job a little more safer and a little bit more easier to do.
Because instead of the old cat and mouse game, running red lights and swerving through traffic, he can just stick a little box with a 40-pound magnet to the bottom of a car in seconds. As the person drives, a computer program tracks them via satellite and prints a list of their whereabouts, even how fast they were going.
If we were worried about a child being kidnapped.
They've been hired by parents after a bitter child custody case, or a spouse like this man who was married for 18 years.
We used it for several weeks, just tracking where my wife's vehicle was and just to confirm some suspicions I had.
His suspicions were right, and he's now divorced. He credits the GPS surveillance with saving him millions in alimony.
I just needed some evidence, some hard evidence to, in case I needed it in court.
This is a tool of our trade, just like it is with law enforcement.
But it might not be for long. A proposed bill to outlaw the devices gives law enforcement an exception, but private investigators are not included.
When we get into the sphere now where anybody can track anybody, what may start even as something that's innocent may devolve into something that's more sinister.
Representative Kevin Levitas wrote the legislation to protect Georgians and offers exceptions for parents tracking children, cops tracking criminals, and employers watching their vehicles, but not for private investigators.
I think you or I need to be able to go to a shopping center, get a carton of eggs, and not have to check under our car to see if someone's placed a tracking device.
I think the legislation's good, so any John Doe person can't walk into a store and buy a GPS and throw it on somebody's car just because they want to know where somebody is.
But Ward argues that he sometimes works with law enforcement, and often his findings are used in court. PIs receive special training and are state licensed.
Have made to me what I think is a legitimate case for discussion.
Now they'll spend thousands on lobbyists to try to get it written into the law, so cases of divorce and child custody, which aren't criminal, can still be won.
I think certain people should be allowed to do it. Private detectives, licensed people, police. It's an important tool.
She's on the move.
We both thank God that he's alive, and he broke down into tears.
After the shooting of a suspect at the Waffle House this morning, he was at another location and somehow got away.
Correct. He looks like he's been roughed up a bit. He hasn't eaten in 4 or 5 days. They kept him tied up and gave him only water.
Defense attorney Kathy Alderman says normally her job is to get her clients out of jail. But this time she worked for days on little sleep to get one out of the hands of kidnappers. She says a close friend of Juan David Arce Flores came to her.
Well, she told me he'd been kidnapped and they were asking a $2 million ransom, which was, of course, impossible to come up with. And what went through my mind was, we're going to get him out of this.
She says after trying 2 days to find out who had jurisdiction, she turned to private investigator T.J. Ward. He says he located a key witness and coordinated with Sandy Springs Police from there.
And I have to say that the Sandy Springs Police Department has been fabulous, fabulous. They took charge right away.
The information that I got, I turned over to the Sandy Springs Police.
At one point, Ms. Alderman says she put up $50,000 of her own cash as a possible down payment to the abductors, hiring off-duty police to guard her at home. She says the money is back in a safe place.
I would have done this for any human being, but since he is a client, I was not gonna let them win.
She says Arce Flores told her after the Waffle House shooting, 2 of his 3 guards left, and he overpowered the one who stayed behind and fled in a daze to a church.
But because he looked so rough, the church called the police, and the police came and took him into custody and saved him.
Did you expect this one to turn out with a living victim?
I was in hope that we would, from the information that we were communicating back and forth in our work with law enforcement.
Ready, sweetheart? Good girl. Cody Hunt.
Cody is a 2-year-old yellow lab trained to find human remains.
It's difficult, you know. And
Elaine Adams' cousin, Leslie Adams, has been missing since last October. She was last seen leaving her work at a Lilburn beauty salon. Today, the family and their private investigator, T.J. Ward, were following up on a tip they got from the internet.
They, in turn, sent a map to me in regards to in Lilburn, where we need to check and look for the body may be.
And we're just taking it one day at a time, and I mean, it's just something that you would never ever expect would happen to you.
If she starts pawing, then that tells us there's some type of scent there.
Tracy Sargent and her dogs combed a roughly 2-acre area.
So right now we're clearing the area and feel very good that the areas we've cleared are clean.
The dogs found nothing. For the Adams family, that brought both a sense of frustration and relief.
We want answers, but we don't want to find her in a brush somewhere. So I'm glad that she's not here, and I'm just hopeful that we'll find her soon.
feel like I was in another world.
Another world.
Yeah, shock. Shock.
Cabaseka says he's operations manager for a flooring company, but he was floored when he was arrested at the Walmart at 6149 Old National Highway and accused of passing a counterfeit $100 bill.
I was very embarrassed.
He says he went to the Walmart to buy food for his 6 kids and attempted to pay with a $100 bill. A clerk asked him to wait, and about 45 minutes later, a Fulton County police officer arrested him.
Then he took the marker from the cashier and then marked the $100 bill like this. And get another dollar bill, mark it. He said, you see?
He says he spent 3 days inside the Fulton County Jail before his release on bond.
The police should act as a safety check and
His
not
lawyer,
to
Bruce
arrest
F. Morris,
anyone
says he had
without-
SECA polygraphed and he passed, and the assistant DA conditionally dismissed the case.
I can't speak highly enough about Bobby Wolf, the assistant district attorney.
But it was apparently days later this came about, a letter from the U.S. Secret Service to Fulton County Police saying, in effect, the 100 note was genuine. SECA's attorney says, amazingly, documents show the bill had been certified genuine once before SECA ever got it. Morris said Private Eye T.J. Ward is looking into things further.
It's an unfortunate situation that could have probably ended up in a handshake.
The officer had enough probable cause to make the arrest.
But Fulton County Police Lieutenant Darrell Halbert says the department is now re-examining its policy.
We've spoken with the Secret Service and we've talked to them to see how we can better our policy.
Lieutenant Halbert says the bill was so old, 1934, some modern detection methods didn't apply.
We're in the process of getting that expunged from his record.